The client approached us after her L1 was denied. This was a brand new startup company with 0 employees, import-export company. It's supposed to be a super simple case, but when they filed it, the case was denied because she was an accountant, a CFO position, her husband was a CEO, she's coming to the US. USCIS just did not believe she was going to run the company, and the fact that she had another company in the US for an extremely long time, and they said that this operation doesn't count as a startup, so they denied the case. They were extremely stressed because they were planning along everything to come over, get the L-1A, and for all the kids to go to school. We filed the case, it was approved, and then we did it was with the power of an analogy. Let me show you how. Hi everyone, my name is Joseph. I'm the managing partner here at Associates, where we solve legal problems with creative solutions. So in filing this L-1A case, there were 2 legal problems that we had to overcome. One was this company already existed in the US dormantly for several years. And now the USCIS just doesn't consider this entity as a new startup. And so they wanted to prove that this US company was already big and justifies this L-1A, and they were not willing to accept just a business plan. That's one problem we had to overcome. The second problem was that she was doing finance. She's not a CEO. She didn't hire a lot of people. She only had 1 assistant underneath her. So how is she gonna be an executive? To overcome the first problem was relatively simple. We just advised the client to create a new company and to shut down the old company and explain why. If you had a company for over a year long, it's really hard to argue it's a new company because it's already been there for a year. And so typically, if that's the case, you really wanna beef up the company or just start a new one and explain. That's the first problem. It was easily solved. Now the second problem was the key. She was a wife, the husband's CEO, she managed the finance, he manages everything else. How do you prove that she is actually going to come over to run the US company? And so we made a simple analogy. The person who controls the purse pulls the strings. The person who manages the finances is the ultimate decision maker. And we made an analogy to husband and wives. We made an analogy to Congress and the executive department.
You control the debt. You control everything.
Even though she only had a few assistants, she managed the finances, but because of that, she manages everything else. Any department that needed to make a decision needed her approval. The argument was simple. We got the documents to prove it, but what we suspect was that there was an underlying prejudice. There was something else that was going on here. Maybe the officer just didn't believe that this mother, this wife, was really doing everything. Yes, she had a title. Yes, she has the pay stubs, but it's their own company, so maybe it could all be forged, faked. She doesn't have the leadership qualities to actually make it happen. So we documented her career growth very much like an O1 or EB1A case, proving her extraordinary qualifications, her graduate degrees, her undergrad degrees, what she studied, how amazing she is as a person. And she's not just a mother or a wife, whatever that means, right? But we proved that she was capable as an executive of this large import and export company. We proved her case, got it approved, overcome the prior denial, went to the interview at the consulate, proved that she came into the US and now runs a thriving import-export company. The takeaway from doing this case is that there's sometimes underlying reasons that you have to read between the lines. That is very un-American, right? Most of the time in American culture, everything is super straightforward, super blunt. This is what I think, prove it to me, X, Y, and Z. Give me premise, conclusion format. It's super direct.
So, how do I look?
You're hideously disfigured and will probably be hunted for sport.
But sometimes, because of regulations, USCIS officers cannot directly say what they're thinking, and you have to kind of almost guess. And that's very Asian. We thrive at reading between the lines and guessing. We have a lot of employees who graduated from our program, who work here and then now work at USCIS and work at CBP and work at different government agencies, and they tell me that we cannot directly say what we're thinking sometimes, and that's why we ask for this, but really what we're looking for is something else. So if you get a bizarre request for evidence or a denial, sometimes don't just look at the face of it of what they're asking. Really think about what the officer might be thinking and provide that to them. There's no penalty for providing too much. Like this case, the L-1A just denied it because of her position as a CFO. That just seems completely ridiculous. It's already a C-level position, right? It's not just a lowly accountant or a lowly manager. So we suspected it was because of the prejudice from her role and relationship with the CEO. We provided it, it was approved. I cannot guarantee and I cannot be 100% sure scientifically that that is why, but I think that's why. If you have any questions about L-1A, about strategy, would love to talk to you. Take care. Bye-bye.